coming to you live from Bob Ledgy Stadium, a road trip for our Wednesday edition of Beyond the Scoreboard here at lcsportsnet.com. Eric Thomas, Tim Continenza alongside. I'm James Dotson as we preview the games coming up, the final week of the regular season for the high school football season. We'll also take a look at what's going on playoff-wise, look back at last week, and look at what's going on here behind us tonight as these two will have the call for the junior high championship. And, Eric, we were talking about it earlier today, how interesting it is. It's Laurel and Neshannock for the big Week 9 finish in the Big 7 Conference. We get to see the little guys do it tonight, the junior high championship between the same two teams.
Yeah, and I guess you could probably argue which one's the bigger of the two games, but both have such high stakes with it. But, it'll be interesting tonight to get a glimpse of what the future is going to look like for both these programs. And both have a proud tradition of youth football, so – you were telling me earlier in the week about some of the guys you've seen come through this game, so it'll just be interesting to see what's under the hood for the future. For Laurel, it's going to be a little bit longer because some of their offensive linemen, which they've relied so heavily on, are only seventh graders. So from the varsity standpoint, they won't contribute for 2 more years, but their youth program then will be really good again next year because their line's so good. For Neshannock, we might see a couple guys that could factor into what this team is like next year. And
Tim, real quick, just to mention that a couple of guys that we've seen in recent years, we're going to see one tonight, Jay Corey. He was balling it up last winter. Then, of course, you also had Tony Guyowitz a couple of years ago, a big part of the Laurel Championship. So we see that progression from one year to the next. Really cool.
And it's so important to the development of a program to be able to get this level playing the way you want it to play, to focus on certain plays, to focus on certain style of football, and be able then to develop them before they can't make that next step. They're ready to make that next step when they're freshmen and sophomores and have that opportunity to succeed. And that's where it all begins, right here. Without that, you don't really have that opportunity.
Told you we had some special guests coming on. We're bringing them in right here. What's up, Coach?
How's it going, guys?
Good to see you. Get that on you. I'll get out of your way.
I don't know. Hopefully my big head don't break us, Dotson. All right.
If these two make it all right, then you're completely
well, if his ego doesn't break it, your head's going to be fine.
Yeah, right. You're right there, guys. That was probably the truth right there for sure.
Coach Mike Bonjavengo from Neshannock, thanks for coming up here.
Sir.
You guys just got done with practice.
Yep.
We'll talk a little bit about Friday's game here in a few, but how about tonight, just what it means for you guys to see the youth program and how special it is for them to be in this championship game against a rival, Laurel, and ironically enough, the same team that your varsity team will play on Friday night, so you get a little glimpse of what's going to happen here in the next couple of years, but just what it means for you to see the guys that you're going to get down the line playing this game here tonight.
Oh, I mean, it's awesome. The cool part is with our program, we kind of overlap, obviously, with times and coaches the way it is, so kind of all summer long, we were able to, we have eyes on them, maybe they're down on one end of the other field, we're on the other. Watching them progress from that time, up until this point is obviously awesome. Yeah, you get to get a look at what guys are going to be coming up into your program next year. Like I said, we all interact with them. Like yesterday, we were up at their practice. Our varsity guys went up, got a little rough and rowdy with them, just having some fun. Wishing them good luck. So yeah, it's an awesome opportunity, not only just for the program itself, but for those specific guys in general. Like I said, watching them work day in and day out all summer long. They're here just with us, and I'm really excited to see what they do tonight.
What's the year been like for you? I mean, it's sort of been up and down a little bit. You got off to a rough start against Mohawk. Gino had a couple of issues with some illness and missed some time. Nico Medor filled in nicely for him. Consistency with your running game, and the thing that James and I have talked a lot about this season is the fact that you had to really replace a lot up front on your offensive line, but your running game hasn't suffered. You guys are just as good running the football as you were a year ago, and maybe even better. I mean, Anthony Akins is going to have a career year when all's said and done, but just walk us through what this year's been like for you, kind of the ebbs and flows of the whole season.
Obviously we were returning 16 seniors. At the end of the day, a lot of seniors coming back, but like you said, we did have a lot of guys we had to replace. We only lost, 7 or 8 from last season. So being able to have to replace those guys, all those guys played, from our kicker down to, linemen both ways, tight end, linebacker. So we had a lot to replace, but our kids knew what we had coming back, and we kind of stayed the course. We had, a couple situations happen in the year. We lost Veronese for the year. We've lost Mike DeSanti now, another guy who was a starter for us, up front. But, here nor there, our guys know it's next man up. Just like you said about Gino and Nico. Nico stepped in that day, knew he had to play. Found out that day he was going to be the starter, and he went out and just stepped stepped up and did his job. I mean, you've seen that progression throughout the whole year, and that's the one thing I'm probably most proud of so far up until this point is our guys really have that, hey, next man up mentality, and we just got to go to work and put our best out there. So, we're getting better. We're trying to get better week in and week out, and that's always our focus. Whenever somebody's number's called, we expect them to step up.
How about so now you've been here for 2 years. You obviously were an assistant here. Everybody knows your family name. I mean, it's got its imprint on programs all across the area. But you inherited a program that was ready to win. Let's be honest. They were, the bullseye was starting to be on this program last year. Do you feel like you've put your stamp on it now and what you guys have been able to accomplish? Like, this is now sort of out of Fred's shadow. It's now your program, and you've been able to take off and run with it.
I mean, yeah, at the end of the day, it's really not about me. Like, and I know, yeah.
It's you still have to have, like, it becomes your identity. He's kind of forged his own identity at Newcastle already, in a short amount of time. Yep. And you guys you haven't missed a beat.
And that was what the focus was. I wanted to put these guys in the best position to succeed. So, at the end of the day, I feel like, I'm putting my stamp on it my way right now, but these kids have bought into it as well. They bought into me, my staff, everybody involved with the program from, once again, even third and fourth grade up, like, getting that mindset of being a family mentality, and that's kind of what we've been living by right now, and it's really nice to see that, the guys have bought into it, and it's something that I believe in. Be great is something I've always said, and it's be great in every little thing you do, including being on the field. So our guys have bought into that, and I couldn't be happier for what they've done, and I hope to continue to take this program to to places it needs to go, and that's been my focus, and that's what I hope it stays.
Hey, Coach, as the season progresses, obviously there's many facets of the game that you talk about. But just talk about your special teams and how important they are, and what type of things you're looking still to achieve this season with them.
I mean, our special teams, we could all know, we could call a spade to start the year was not great. Let's just be real about it. And it's the funny part, back to what you were saying earlier, when I was here as an assistant, I was the special teams coordinator, and I took a lot of pride with that last year we were in Double-A. We transitioned last year. We had some success on special teams, and this year, it wasn't up to par, right? And that falls back on me as the head coach of this program. But we have been putting a big emphasis on it. We've been doing a lot of film study as a team, as a staff, really honing in on why special teams are that important. At the end of the day, it's 1/3 of the game. Like, whether you count it or not, like I do, and it's 1/3 of the game that you need to win that aspect of the game. And we weren't doing that to start the year. We're starting to transition and get a little better. But like I said, a huge emphasis. Today, I don't know how much you've seen, but we definitely are putting a big emphasis on special teams because it is something that could change the game in the blink of an eye.
And then obviously when you talk about that, getting back into just the defense, how important it is to set the tone with the defense each week. And now that you're in the late October and in the biggest game of the season, just talk about the mentality of your team getting into the game, and talk just about the importance of third down on defense.
I mean, third downs, obviously that's one of the 5 winning factors in a football game. And, we're up and down week in and week out with our third downs on both sides of the ball. Defensively, we got to fly around and we got to execute. Our biggest thing in our losses this year, those teams were two really well-coached teams, really really good offenses. We didn't execute either, so we gave them even bigger holes than what they probably would have created on their own. So, execution's been a key point for us defensively. A lot of new faces, as we said earlier, but it is what it is. Next man up. So we're focused on executing and being assignment sound. Like, that's at the end of the day, you got to play assignment sound football against these really good teams that we play. And when you don't, you could get exposed. So that's been a big point of emphasis moving throughout the year. Get our guys out there and let them play fast. And that's what I hope, our guys are buying, and they are buying into. And I hope to continue to see that grow as we make this next half of the year happen.
This team's going to go through a little bit more transition next year. Aiken gone,
16,
Allison. Yeah, I mean, that's tough. That's tough to overcome. But you started playing some younger guys last year, like Justin Edworthy. Your kicker this year, Amari Rapchek, is fantastic. You have another great freshman in Joey, who's been great for you. Good piece in the paper this morning about the freshmen in the area. That was great.
It was really nice.
A little bit about maybe the future here. How important is it for these guys that have been stepping up for you in these roles to carry into next year? Because obviously a guy like Gino, who's a 3-year starter, he had to start somewhere. He had to start when he was young enough. I mean, he was a sophomore. These guys are getting it right from the freshman point of view, and then to carry that over, Is there anybody on this game in this game tonight that we might see factor into next year? I mean, I know it's a little early to tell.
Yeah, it's a little
but
definitely.
Are there certain things that you see from like some of the guys on this junior high team that you saw in some of those freshmen that you had to play early last year and that you've had to play this year?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you see, once again, seeing them a lot this summer, like stopping out at their practice or seeing them in the weight room or just talking to them in passing. Like, I believe, and don't quote me, you guys might have the right number, I might not. I think there's like 18 to 20 eighth graders right now, which is a great number because we are losing 16 seniors, right? So, obviously, yeah, seniors to freshmen, totally different type of player. But, yeah, I definitely think there's some guys out here tonight. A lot of those eighth graders up front are going to be asked to possibly next year step into a role where they might have to start on Friday nights. Obviously you see all the skill guys as well. You got, from Jared to Maslick to DeVincentis. I don't know if he's going to play or not, but that's another kid, the Owens kid, who has an older brother on the team. A lot of those eighth graders, are probably, like you said, going to be asked, or they're going to be in a position starting, whenever this season ends and we start back up. Yeah, and they're going to be in a position of like, hey, dude, you might win a spot on Friday night and play a lot. Like, you got to start taking this thing seriously when we start it back up, with our next year's stuff in January. They got to be locked in, and because we do a lot of film study. We do a lot of X's and O's throughout January until – every day we're doing X's and O's, don't get me wrong, but we really install everything starting in January. So these guys, the cool part is from our third grade team all the way up to our varsity team, like we practice with the little kids sometimes, we invite them out. The cool part is the mental part is going to be a little bit easier for them because the same X's and O's on both sides of the ball are being called the same terminology from the third grade team up into, what you'll see on Friday night. It's the same play calls. So that part actually is a blessing that I have great assistants, obviously, in this program that have taken on what we do from a schematic standpoint and already implemented it once again, literally into a third or fourth grader's head. So that's going to help us a ton, too.
I've covered two programs in my 26 years of doing this, Southern Columbia and Cumberland Valley, and I just two of the best minds I've ever been around. Same blueprint. It's third, fourth grade, all the way through when they graduate as a senior. It's the same play call, the same playbook. Maybe the terminology changes a little bit when you get older because of – and that just comes with the evolution of football, too. Right. There's terminology 2 years ago that's completely different now because of how formations are, how offenses are, whatever. But from the most part, Jim Roth, Tim Remfield have kept the same playbook outside of when they've had freak talent like Julian Fleming or those guys.
Obviously.
How important is that to get those kids on that schedule now and get them in that terminology and those formations and all that right now?
It's funny. So last year, obviously, we transitioned to, my terminology, right? And it was in the 7th and 8th grade as well. So speaking of that 9th grade class right now, I think we only got 7 or 8 of them. Those guys that played last year were able to come in, and some of them were in the room that probably knew something more than what a 10th or 11th grader knew just from a schematic standpoint to draw it up on the board, right? So that was just the first time where it hit me, and I was like, wow, this really works. And then last year we were practicing with our 6th graders before they went to the championship, and I had so much fun with it. I took maybe our Tony Parada, I put him on defense and had their starting center, right? And I literally called the offense to the 6th grade quarterback last year. He'd go in the huddle and call the play. It was the same things we were going to run on Friday night, whatever week that was. And so that's really where it was hitting me, wow, this is really starting to work. And I'm sure once again seeing these teams come up next year, that transition is having a bigger number too, and guys that might be counting on it's going to help a ton. I'm excited to see how it plays out.
A couple things we'll ask you before we cut you loose. We got to talk about Laurel because I don't know that anybody you've played this year has made the jump that they made from last year. They were playing really good at the end of last year, and then you guys handled them here to close the season out. This is a different animal this year. Their defense is better. Their offensive line is pushing people around. They allowed nothing against Southside. You watched it. I know you watched it. But what is it about them that makes them what they are this year? What have you seen when you study them that makes them what they are, how good they've been, and how much better are they from a year ago when you played them in this game last year?
I really didn't compare last year to this year, to be honest. I'll start there. I really didn't do too much. Because like you said, it's a totally new team. It's all about the product they put out there this year. And last year, I thought they were a really good team. They're really well coached. Coach Coop does a fantastic job with those guys. Yeah. Those big boys up front, man, they get it done, and they really do. And they make they got athletes all over the field. They got guys that really make plays. We're excited for the opportunity to compete against a team that's this good. At the end of the season, we're definitely, preparing for that opportunity. And like I said, I think up front, they're really talented, and in turn, with all their talent behind them, man, it really makes them go. Like I said, excited for the opportunity, definitely on Friday night to strap it up and try and play them. But we got to prepare for sure.
Then the last thing we'll ask you. it's tough to look ahead because you don't know who you're going to play next week.
Yeah.
You know you're in. You clinched that a couple weeks ago, so congratulations on that again.
Thank you.
And I know there's still a lot to play for on Friday, so you don't want to get ahead of yourself.
Yep.
But 1A is one of the best conferences in the
by far.
WPIAL. It is loaded
It's
top
crazy.
to bottom.
It's crazy.
Fort Cherry, Clareton notwithstanding.
Yep.
I mean, just size up. We all know what those two teams are, but size up how you feel like 1A is. And I know from a mentality standpoint, you and everybody else who's going to be in this thing just like, we don't care. It's anybody, anywhere, anytime type of thing. But what is it like kind of navigating this 1A and trying to get your way through it? How tough is it? How much fun do you think this is going to be? How nerve-wracking is it? Just when you kind of study the 16 teams that are probably going to be in this, we know probably about 14.
Yeah, you know, probably 12 to 14 right now. I mean, yeah, we looked at it a little bit, you know, and I hate to give that cliche, you know what I mean? But it really is true in this case. Like, you can only control what's happening today, right? Like, so that's what our kids are focused on. We're not looking ahead to what seed are we going to get. Where there's no bickering even in the office as coaches, like, oh, well, if this happens and this happens and this happens. We really kind of put that to the side because we don't want it to be a distraction. Right, and if our kids hear us talking about it, then all of a sudden, what are they talking about in school, right? So we kind of push that all to the side. At the end of the day, though, when you pull up your phone after a game on Friday night and you check them 1A scores, yeah, I mean, you see teams putting up numbers. There's a lot of talent in 1A in the WPIAL, and it's awesome. And once again, in my eyes, I think our kids know that too. It's a blessing to be considered in that fact anyway, and to be already having a playoff spot, like you said. I mean, right now there's 14, and who knows, those 14, like – from those top 3 in each conference. It could change by the time Friday night ends, right?
Yep.
So, like, you know, it's a cool opportunity. I think that, you know, being able to play, like, all that talent in single A, it's awesome for the WPIAL in general. And for us being a single A school, all those different schools that have guys from all over, it shows you that at the end of the day, if you're a ball player, college coaches are going to find you. They're going to do everything they can to get you into their program. And once again, our guys at the end, to kind of circle back to the question, they're focused on the next game, actually just the next day. They want to practice tomorrow. They want to get after it, execute, and then go out Friday night and just compete on Friday and see what happens.
And essentially, you have a playoff game Friday night anyway.
Yeah,
so,
essentially, it really is.
That's really going to get you kind of prepared mentally, you think, for what's going to happen the week after then.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, playing in this conference, number one, we say it week in, week out. I mean, it's loaded top to bottom, in my opinion. Like, I think there's teams that could literally come out at any time and give somebody a game. You know what I mean? So, yeah, we're treating it like a, playoff game for sure. Yeah, we're blessed to be in already. We're guaranteed to be in that spot. I think that Rochester forfeited officially on Monday. I'm not sure if it was official yet or not.
Finally.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure for sure.
Jeez. We've been waiting for a month. I mean, come on.
Yeah, so I think that did just happen or is going to happen or something like that. I'm not sure. I stay way out of that stuff, But, being in this conference, yeah, we got to treat this one like a playoff game. But it's like that every week. We know it's going to be a dogfight Friday night. But once again, I think our kids are excited for the opportunity to compete against a team of this caliber in Laurel, for sure.
All righty, sir. We'll see you Friday night.
Hey,
Thank
appreciate
you for
you
coming up
guys
and
all.
tonight.
Yeah,
Yep.
no doubt. Appreciate you guys.
All right, James Dotson will step back in here. Mike Bonjavengo, the head coach of Neshannock. We'll have them on Friday night, obviously, against Laurel in one of our – I know it's a game I've been looking forward to all season.
Well, we've been looking forward to 364 days, basically, since the game we had last year. But no, thanks, Coach. We're going to get a chance to talk to Coach Cooper as well. That'll be actually during the junior high championship game. He's going to come and join us for our halftime show, so a little fun twist to that. Well, let's talk about this Neshannock team. They're also on a short week. I wanted to poke his brain about that. I mean, it's not a huge difference. It's one day less. They defeated Summit Academy, as we recapped last week, 49-6. You alluded to it, Eric. Anthony Aiken, another big rushing game. He's quickly approaching the 1,000-yard mark. Gino Mazzocco, 4 total touchdowns. That's the key right there. I think Gino is playing his best ball right now. Yes, I know it was Summit Academy. But they're playing their best ball, Gino especially right now.
Yeah, and that's a big deal for this team just because he hasn't been able to show that, it seems like, all year. He wasn't right for a couple games. He missed them. Their offense has been very run-heavy, but if they can get him back to where he was at this stage a year ago, I know he didn't play great in the playoff game last year against Jeanette. This Neshannock team I'm sure would want a do-over of that game 100%, but he wasn't great in that game. And, the one thing I didn't ask Coach, and this is something we'll probably get into a little bit on Friday night, there's teams that have other teams' numbers, and you can't figure out, I know it's college. Penn State can't figure out how to beat Ohio State. It just seems like that forever now. For whatever reason, Gino seems to play his best ball against Laurel. Mm-hmm. And if you look at his career numbers against them, I mean, they're off the charts. He's got almost 1,000 yards in the time he's played 4 games, or it'll be 3 games total. He's going to have probably over 1,000 yards if he has a good game on Friday night. for whatever reason, completion percentage, it's the best he's had against any opponent. Yardage, most he's had against any opponent. Touchdowns, he's had a couple of them, but he runs the ball effectively against them. He throws the ball effectively against them. And it just seems like getting against these guys, for whatever reason, brings out the best of him. And he's going to have to be his best on Friday night because that defense from Laurel, man, they are ruthless. And it's going to be the best defense that Neshannock faces up until the playoffs.
Yeah, Tim, they showed that on Friday night.
They did. And, just to make a point of what Eric was saying there, I think a lot of that competition that you see between these two schools because these players know each other well.
Yeah.
They've competed against each other throughout the school years, going back 7-8 years. So they know who's there. They're friends with them in some ways. So I think that has a lot to do with it. It's a pride factor and it's a competition factor. And I think that really has something to do with that when you have schools that are this close, and really will support each other as the season progresses. Whoever may advance deeper, you'll see either school's jackets in the stands rooting for that team in the playoffs. So I think that has a lot to do with it. I really do. I think when you see that. And we are also talking about Gino and Anthony and all them, experience. They've been on the field a lot. Multi-year starters. This is something that, they've been ingrained, and this is their opportunity, one last time to make a run. So, and they're at home. And I think anytime you're at home, you're more comfortable. Yeah. And it'll be interesting to see how they react against a very good Green team.
Yeah. Oh, and Neshannock, always good at home, always good against Lawrence County. In the last 13 years, they have lost only 6 games against county opponents. They've lost to Mohawk twice, including this year, Elwood City last year, Shenango back in 2015, and Laurel back-to-back years in 2020 and 2021. Never in the last 13 years has Neshannock lost multiple games in the same year to a Lawrence County opponent. That's what's going to be up for grabs, let's say, on Friday night. Let's talk about Laurel real quick and that game last week against Southside Beaver, 45-7. I mean, I think going into it, I think we all kind of were on the same page that we think Laurel's a better team, that it's going to be a fight, it's going to be a grinded out kind of game. They basically flipped the script of what we saw right here of what Southside did in Neshannock. Laurel did that same thing, got the late touchdown in the first half, the early score to start the second half. It felt like it was the same teams, just flip-flop. Laurel, a mercy rule, didn't see that in the cards.
No, and I didn't see the way that they exploded on offense against. I thought that it looked like it was going to be a back-and-forth game early on, and I did not think that they were going to rip off 42 straight points against them. I mean, they literally did the same thing that Southside did here a week before that. Now, I think the biggest difference between these two teams on Friday night, and we saw it last week, where Neshannock is still kind of trying to grow on their offensive line and patchwork, basically, because they've had all these guys that are now out and they've had to replace a handful of them. It's the same starting 5 for Laurel up front for 3 years now. In some cases, those guys are 4-year starters. So they have the offensive line that's capable of pushing that physical front around. Now, I don't know from a Southside perspective what Anthony Haig's absence means for them on the offensive line. It didn't mean anything when they played here, but it might have meant something last week. And I wonder, too, about the psyche of this team because they've relied so much on Todd Matejevich at quarterback, and then last week they went to 2 quarterbacks. They're going to play 2 quarterbacks going forward now starting tomorrow on Friday night. And I just wonder, if they just couldn't get into a rhythm. AC Courtfield had nowhere to go. They had to use one of their primary runners as a fill-in quarterback, and it was basically simple plays up the middle. And you're running into the middle of that defense. They've got 2 really good ends in Medved and Fuchs, but the middle of that defensive line for Laurel is you can't go anywhere on them.
Well, and how crazy is it?
600 pounds right there.
You have Casey Wilson's 550 himself. He takes up that much room the way he plays in the middle. He was one of the big defensive stops in that game. The question I have for you, Tim, looking at this defense, you have Jack Miles, you haven't mentioned yet, the all-time tackles leader. Colton Carlson is about to pass that same record to be number 2 all-time. And Tyler Fuchs is on pace to pass both of them over the next 2 years as well. What is it about this defense that has made them so good?
I think it's the front 7. You got, especially the front 4. If you can get penetration, that gives your linebackers and your defensive backs opportunity to fill the gaps and make big plays. And they have done that, and they've done it successfully. And they get into the backfield, they make the play in the backfield, or at least they make the hit to slow them down, and then it really makes it difficult for them to get anything more than a yard or 2 on a carry. And I think they've been really successful at that throughout the year, and it continues to show. If you can penetrate and control the offensive line on the defensive side, you could really disrupt an offense, and that's what they've been good at. And going back to the south side, I thought that was one thing they were able to do. As much as the misdirections come in that type of offense they're facing, they were able to really stay in their assignments most of the night.
No effect.
And they handled it. And, we were talking to, Coach earlier about third down efficiency. Their fourth down efficiency last week was just outrageous. And, I mean, I think they had one maybe.
1 out of 6, I think it was officially.
Yeah, 7 attempts.
It was just
6,
phenomenal. Yeah. And that's what you need. You need a defense that can come up with big plays.
Actually, I don't think they converted a fourth down last week. I
so
think
0 for 6.
Yeah, I think. Yeah.
Because, and then a couple of turnovers late as well.
That's true.
As part of it. Yeah, that was incredible what that defense did. Also, shout out Lucas Santini. He earlier set the passing yards record career. He set the passing touchdowns record as well. Oh, by the way, Colton Carlson, a pedestrian, 200 total yards and 3 touchdowns as well. Can't let that fly under the radar for them. Again, Laurel against Neshannock coming up on Friday. The other Class 1A team that we're going to be keeping an eye on is Shenango. They lost to a very good Fort Cherry team. Matt Sig didn't play much, didn't have to. The rest of the team ran it just fine. 42-0 Fort Cherry, the victory. Shenango, though, they play on Saturday at Summit Academy, finishing 4th in this Big 7 conference. Real quick, is it enough to get them in the postseason as an at-large?
Yeah, it should be. I mean, if you're going to go on, I know that the margins are not good as far as it factors into that Gardner situation if they have to go to that for any reason, but I mean, it should be good enough. And this team, look, they're going to get matched up against either a Clareton or a Fort Cherry again. And I don't know. Just get there.
Yeah.
Like, honest to God, like, just get in the tournament.
Another week of practice, right?
Right. Get another week of practice. Get your freshman quarterback another week. Get these young guys that are going to come back and be the foundation of your program. Get them another week. Could not happen to a better guy after what happened last year in Jimmy Graham. Exactly. That's the thing. Like, we don't wear our heart on our sleeve when it comes to teams. Yeah, we want to see all the area teams do well, but it helps us out when they do that. But the one guy and the one program that deserves something good this year was Shenango, and I hope for their sake they get in, because that team should get another week and should continue to grow. And the only way they can do that is if they keep playing.
Yeah, helps make it easier on us, or difficult on me when I got to figure out where we're all going for the first round of playoffs.
That's a YP, my friend.
Yeah. Appreciate that. Thanks, guys. Jumping up to Class 2A last week, Mohawk 29-0 over Freedom. They keep their playoff hopes alive. It's not a win and you're in scenario. We'll go over all the scenarios here in a few minutes, but 29-0, all Joey Nail in that game, 2 receiving touchdowns and a blocked punt. The other MAC game, Elwood City taking care of Union, controlled them in the second half, 41-6 win for Elwood City. They are in a win and you're in situation coming up on Friday. Tim, Elwood City against Beaver Falls, Mohawk against Riverside. Both winnable games. Mohawk, it's a must-win for sure, but which one of those are you most looking forward to?
I think it's the Mohawk game because of the scenario they're in. I mean, obviously they can only control what's in front of them, and that's the game itself. I mean, they can't control other games.
Right.
So the mentality is just give everything you got. Go for it. Put it all on the line. And let's see if we can put another week together and play, And that's so important at this high school level. You don't understand. I mean, I think it's easy to overemphasize or even overlook, I should say, these kids want to play again.
Yeah.
They don't want their seasons to end. And then you look at how close Mohawk has been all season long, all those close games where the game slipped away from them at the last moment. And then to turn it around late in the season and have this opportunity, I guarantee you, if you took a survey, there's not one player that doesn't want to play next week, and that's what they're playing for. It is all about emotions, all about staying in the system and doing what they're coached to do. And let's be honest, they're going to be put in a good position next week, or I should say this Friday, and see what happens.
In Class 4A, Newcastle 56, Ambridge 7. A pedestrian 5-touchdown effort from Marino Graham, the freshman. Nearly 300 yards of offense, 3 passing, 2 rushing touchdowns. Believe it or not, he is on pace. He has a chance to be just the second player in county history to go 1,000 in a regular season, and would be only the second freshman in the WPIL to do it, along with Matt Sig, who we were just talking about. Needs 162 yards to be able to hit that number. We know what he's been. Eric, what impressed me last week, 8 touchdowns by 6 different players. Yeah,
and they had to come back and win that game last week because of what happened against West Allegheny. Newcastle really driver's seat, couldn't control it. got out of hand against West Allegheny, couldn't come up with a big play, so they put themselves in this position. They still have the inside track on it. Now, I understand, like, if West Allegheny wins, there's some sharing and all that stuff that goes on. I mean, what what a mess this 4A situation is with
only 8 teams
we'll talk
making
about
it.
But Thomas Jefferson and Aliquippa and somebody, if not both, might be out of the equation when all's said and done. I think Aliquippa might be a little safer than people think, but TJ I do think is safe, but we'll talk about that in a few. But, this Newcastle team needed to come back. This is something that they couldn't do last year when they lost a tough game. They couldn't figure out a way to win when they had to the most. And now it's, hey, we got this freshman who, again, I said it for like 6 weeks, that this team just doesn't let the moment get to them. They did a little bit against West Allegheny. I honestly think that that's a good thing for this team. I think that refocuses them. You want to lose before that. It's that old adage, when you get to college basketball, you lose your conference championship game or semifinal or whatever, it refocuses you. I think that's going to help them long term. And the important thing for this team is to go handle business, because they need that first playoff game, especially if it's against Thomas Jefferson, which could happen at home.
Absolutely, and a win doesn't guarantee a home game, but a great chance at it.
It's like, what, like 80%?
I would say, because like you mentioned, we'll go through the full aspect. They could finish technically behind West A, and if so, then West A has to get a home game first. But I do think the Parkway probably gets 2 home games out of the deal. Real quick, Tim. Mitchell Tree, 4 touchdowns, Wilmington 51-7. They get a non-conference game. They're playing that non-conference game, which I think is a good call here to end the year as a senior night for Wilmington against Karn City this week. But Wilmington firing on all cylinders, heading into probably a bye week before a semifinal berth in D10.
The Greyhounds are playing Greyhounds football again. Yep. I mean, you go back to the years where they just dominated. That's exactly what they're doing this year. And, running the ball, doing exactly what they want to do. And the defense is showing up. So, yeah, they're in good position. I mean, they did everything they had to do during the regular season. Now it's, like you said, non-conference game, important to finish out strong. Get yourself ready, get yourself motivated to move up and play in District 10 and make that run, because that's who they are.
Yeah, and we're going to give a shout-out to Wesley Vascal. A couple of picks defensively and as well threw a touchdown pass in that game. We're going to go over all the full breakdown of everything, of what the brackets are going to potentially look like, what the scenarios are for this final week of the year, who makes it into the playoffs and who doesn't. We're overdue for a timeout. We also have a special guest coming up. Yes, second guest of the night. We're going to talk to Kirk Lape of the Tri-County Principals Association. We're going to talk about the new Tri-County Cup that's going to be a thing here now. Big thanks to them and everybody with the Tri-County. He has it. He does have it. We're going to.
Is this like the cup? Like, if the team that wins it or the program that wins it, like, do they get they get a day? They get a day with it?
Yeah.
Right. I like to see, like, the Stanley Cup. I like to see that go off
exactly.
the roof.
The same one gets passed around.
Hey, the school gets it for the whole year. We'll talk about all that when we return here on Beyond the Scoreboard, Week 9 or Week 10, whatever way you want to call it, preview, final week preview at LC SportsNet, powered by LCAP.
Thank you for calling Axe. Where can we take you today?
To work, to the store, to Grandma's house. Axe can get you there, but it's much more than a ride. It's a joyride.
I'm helping people. I'm getting them out of their house. I'm taking them to their doctors, to the grocery store.
They say I'm entertaining. Okay, we laugh, we joke, we sing, we tell stories.
They're like family to us.
Even if it's the same day, to schedule your joyride, call Axe today.
Having a safe and healthy home is not something to play games with, especially if your home was built before 1978. You may be exposed to extremely harmful lead-based paint hazards. If you're concerned about lead in your home, don't roll the dice on your family's safety. LCAP's Healthy Homes Lead Hazard Reduction Program is here to help you win the battle. Your family's health and safety is the goal. Contact the Department of Healthy Homes today.
Calling all sports fans. Never miss a moment with real-time alerts, keeping you in the loop when your favorite teams are playing.
Get instant updates sent straight to your phone with game schedules, changes, and all the latest news.
You can receive important updates and reminders, so you're always prepared for game time.
Be the first to cheer on your local teams and show your support.
Receive important updates and reminders, so you're always prepared for the game.
Signing up is quick and easy. Don't miss out. Sign up now and stay connected to the action.
Plus, follow us on social media for live updates, behind-the-scenes content, and community news.
Congratulations to our September LCAP Team of the Month. The Lawrence County SportsNet is proud to honor Mohawk Boys Cross Country as the LCAP Team of the Month after winning their second consecutive undefeated section championship. Congratulations to coaches Jared Stratton and Cam Shermer and the Mohawk Boys Cross Country team, the LCAP Team of the Month. Lawrence County SportsNet is proud to honor Neshannock's Maddie Arrow as the September Red Zone Female Athlete of the Month for finishing as section runner-up in girls tennis, the doubles champion in the section, and qualifying for states in doubles. LC SportsNet is also proud to honor Neshannock's Rocco Baiuti as the September Male Athlete of the Month for finishing third in the WPIAL Golf Championships and qualifying for states. Congratulations and best of luck to Neshannock's Rocco Baiuti and Maddie Arrow, the September Red Zone Athletes of the Month. Back here on Beyond the Scoreboard, I'm James Dotson. Thanks to Tim Continenza and Eric Thomas. We'll get them back here in a minute. They're getting prepared for the junior high championship tonight. We get a chance to talk to Mr. Kirk Lade, the president. Is that the official for the Tri-County Principals Association? He's joining us first. I got to say, again, thank you so much for everything you've done for us from the get-go. Been a big supporter of us. We can't thank you enough for your support of high school athletics.
Well, that goes both ways, James. I know all 7 principals and the ADs. Can't thank you guys enough. What you guys do for our students throughout the season, whether it's bocce, football, track, basketball, cross country, you name it, volleyball. You guys are always around. You guys are willing to promote all sports, and we really appreciate that. The kids do too. There's kids that have gone off to college that I know. I think you and I have talked about this, and they're still tuning in to YouTube on a Friday night or a Tuesday night just to watch what's going on in Lawrence County, and we really appreciate that.
Kudos to my crew because they're the ones who go out there and are willing to go 2, 3, 4, 5 nights a week to make it work, especially during playoff time. And I'm glad you mentioned that about people, all over the place. I mean, obviously your daughter's one of our biggest fans. Love finding out where she's tuning in from each week. I know a lot of people with Neshannock soccer tonight. I mean, this is a historic run that they're on. I know a lot of people from like the 2013 team watching and stuff like that. So it's really cool to hear those sort of stories. But it's also cool what we're doing with these games tonight, the junior high. So talk about the Tri-County principals basically control the schedule for these junior high programs. And now we get a chance to go and watch the championships and be part of that. But talk about how that's progressed, the junior high championships at all sports.
Right. Well, the Tri-County League historically, it goes way back even before me. We're here at Bob Ledgy Stadium. He's one of the the pioneers of the Tri-County. Before the WPL had sections, like in track, they didn't have a section until 1981. They just put teams out randomly. You found opponents. Well, the principals and the ADs back at the time in Lawrence County put together the Tri-County. And, of course, 3 counties at that time was Lawrence, Mercer, and include Riverside and Beaver County. There's your 3. Old teams that were in it, Slippery Rock, even from Butler County, Mercer, Wilmington, West Middlesex. Currently, there's 7 of us still left. With teams going to District 10 and so forth, that's divided us a little bit. But right now, we're looking at the 7 Tri-County schools as Elwood, Laurel, Mohawk, Neshannock, Riverside Union, and Shenango. So us 7 principals, we get together every other month for a meeting. Obviously, we talk academics, we talk sports, we talk all the extracurriculars. But really the Tri-County, if you go to some of the old gymnasiums or some of the old banners in some of the gymnasiums, you'll see Tri-County banners up. And, in the modern time, people are like, what was that? Well, that was the name of the sections before they were called sections or conferences. We still run, at the varsity level, Tri-County championships in golf, track, cross country. And then with our middle school, we try to, to give those kids some limelight and something to look forward to. We just ran the middle school girls basketball last week that you guys broadcast. Obviously tonight we got the middle school football, middle school volleyball, what you've talked about already, being moved into a different portion of the school year, which is good.
Love that.
It's actually starting now, and we will have a championship there, and then we'll finish our middle school championships up in the winter with the boys basketball. What we did this year, though, with the Tri-County Cup, I guess we could talk a little bit.
Let's talk about
that.
this beautiful thing here. Look at that.
So we sort of got together and we trying to keep the Tri-County moving. The 6 classifications has really changed the geography of sports in Lawrence County. Obviously, you have Newcastle playing at some of the highest levels. But the rest of us, with Wilmington and District 10, the other 6 of us, and then including Riverside and Beaver County, we're sort of all stuck between single, double, triple, depending on what sport it is. So we tried to stay together. We came up with this idea that the Tri-County Cup, we would keep track of wins and losses throughout the year. And whenever you play or compete against a Tri-County school at the varsity level, we're going to keep track of that. And at the end of the school year, whoever has the highest winning percentage, that school's going to be claimed the Tri-County Cup champ. We have rooms here on the bottom to put their names, and that school will house the trophy for a whole year, almost like the Stanley Cup that they do.
Yeah, we were joking that we need to make sure all the kids get one day with the cup and see what happens with it. But you have the standings up right now on the board, and surprise, surprise, the 2 teams we're looking at tonight and the big game on Friday, Neshannock and Laurel currently at the top 2 in the standings, and that's going to again continue throughout the course of the year. You've done a good job of getting all that situated with those original numbers, but this is just a fun idea. Whose idea was it initially amongst the 7 principals to say, no, why don't we get an actual trophy for this and have a little fun?
Well, I think that, the Trib has their classification trophy, which it is what it is. You take a school like Mohawk that the Trib might put them in double in their competition for their cup. But there's a couple sports, softball, basketball, out of Mohawk that's actually AAA. So we sort of took that mentality and made it ours for the Tri-County Cup. So I don't necessarily know if it was one of us. We all talked about it, and I sent the information out to the principals and ADs in the late summer. They liked it. We had our meeting last week where we officially approved it, purchased the trophy, and sent it to the ADs to try to promote with the coaches, and hopefully the kids, and through your social media, we're pushing that out. And hopefully it builds some camaraderie and some competition. Just for an example, the sports like volleyball and track and cross country and even golf, those 7 schools are all in the same section, so that's
awesome.
That's not difficult. But then you get where Neshannock has tennis and Elwood and Riverside do, but then Mohawk, Shenango, Laurel, and Union don't. So those schools can compete against each other in tennis. Soccer maybe with a couple of those schools, and then basketball, they're spread between 3 classifications.
Right, and Union being typically the only 1A school, you're probably not going to play everybody else very frequently.
So that leads us to the other point where we're really trying to get the athletic directors. We had to submit our new numbers for the next 2 classification years back on October 1st, and those new classifications will come out from the state and through the WPL in December and into January with the new schedules for the next 2 years. But we're really trying to get the ADs to push where if you're not in a section, with another Tri-County school, the first exhibition games that you schedule during that season are with a Tri-County school. I mean, we as principals want, the best gate that we can get. We want the most people at a contest, and I think that just drives that. I mean, Lawrence County, as you claim, as the county of champions, we're willing to travel. We don't necessarily get that type of response if we're in with Beaver County schools or even northern Allegheny County coming up to a Laurel or coming up to Neshannock. So we would like to just try to keep us together as much as possible.
The number of guys I've seen when I worked back with Trib who would come up to do a game when we go to Laurel or we go to Neshannock, first off, they love the food. Easily said there. But they said, I can't believe the crowds at this game. And that's, you alluded to it. Everybody comes out to these games. Come playoff time, you have the county teams going and supporting other county teams. I mean, if Neshannock or Laurel, one of them wasn't in the playoffs, they'd be going and following and supporting the others, which I think is something that is rare these days, that these kids, they compete against each other but are still friends off the field and will go and support each other the next week. And I think this is a cool competition, but also showing the camaraderie between Lawrence County schools, which is fun.
And it goes along with the principals. Us 7, I mean, if we weren't from a Lawrence County school, which most of us are, they've been around long enough in Lawrence County where it is something that we care about and we want to push. I mean, if it's not the principal at the school, it's the AD that graduated from that school or graduated from a neighboring school. So we all have some stake and we all have some concern about Lawrence County and the Tri-County, so to speak. We're actually trying to maybe reach out to some other local schools to take the middle school competitions from 7 till 10 and just keep all of our middle school here, so we're not traveling and we don't have to travel down to somewhere in Beaver County for the middle school schedule. But you had mentioned about the competition tonight. With any of our middle school championships, I think it's important to say too there's a cost, there's a charge to get in.
That's what I was about to ask about. So
Yeah.
$5 charge to come in, but all that goes to scholarships that come to the Tri-County principal schools. Talk about those scholarships, how kids can apply for them, and how the winner is selected with that too.
Yep, we typically in the last, I'm going to say 10 years, I think I've been a principal now for 20 plus years and been part of the Tri-County. We've been able to give each of 7 of the schools at least $650 or $700, depending on what the turnouts are or what what we have, in our treasury. We don't keep any of it. We don't get any of it. It's not for the principals. It's not for the athletic directors. There's no hospitality rooms or anything like that for us. We collect all this money and it goes straight back to the 7 schools. So the more we get here at these championships, the more we can give back. As far as the winners, those usually the ADs and the principals have a selection process. I'll just tell you how we do it. I was at Elwood for a while, and now at Laurel, is we look for the multi-sport athletes. And so we'll look at the students that have been or that have participated in 2 or 3 sports, and then we look at GPA because it's a scholar athlete. So, we're looking at those students that have been a part of a couple sports and then also, high in their class too. If there's one overarching, the principal has the right to just give one boy or one girl the total amount. Some principals like to divide it up, so it's a boy and a girl. That's all the principal and ADs call. We just provide that money to the schools.
Very cool stuff. And again, we appreciate all your support for us as well. And this is going to be a fun addition to our coverage for everything through the year. And again, it's every varsity event that features 2 county teams going against each other. And even we have one in the playoffs already, right? With
yes.
Neshannock and Elwood, we're in the same golf, right?
Correct, yes.
So that all goes into figuring out that final percentage. And at the end, we will award the Tri-County Cup, and it will sit at somebody in some schools' front lobby or wherever they want it for a year. So a lot of fun. One final question, Mr. Late, before we let you go. Really appreciate this again. I'm going to let you put your Kirk Herbstreit hat on right now. We're not going to pick a winner. We're not going to pick a winner here tonight, but what is a key? You've seen these 2 teams play. What is going to be a key for Laurel and for Neshannock in this championship game tonight?
Well, when you look at middle school football, a lot of it's on the ground. So, with only 8-minute quarters, a lot of it's time possession. If Laurel can control the time possession and keep the ball away from Neshannock, I know that sounds like an easy solution, but it might be difficult to do because Neshannock's very good. Neshannock coming in undefeated. It's going to be difficult for Laurel to do, but I think that's our goal tonight for Laurel is keep the ball away as long as possible, minimize Neshannock's possession. So
I'd say easy enough, but
that's right,
Coach, Mr. Kirk, appreciate it, Mr. Late. That's awesome stuff, and we'll be chatting down the road as we head into the playoffs. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll be right back with more coverage as we get ready for the final week of the year at LC SportsNet, powered by LCAP.
Calling all sports fans. Never miss a moment with real-time alerts, keeping you in the loop when your favorite teams are playing.
Get instant updates sent straight to your phone with game schedules, changes, and all the latest news.
You can receive important updates and reminders, so you're always prepared for game time.
Be the first to cheer on your local teams and show your support.
Receive important updates and reminders, so you're always prepared for the game.
Signing up is quick and easy. Don't miss out. Sign up now and stay connected to the action.
Plus, follow us on social media for live updates, behind-the-scenes content, and community news.
Nominations are now being accepted for the LCAP Team of the Month and the LGKG Male and Female Athlete of the Month. Log on to lcsportsnet.com/awards to nominate your favorite team or athlete today.
Having a safe and healthy home is not something to play games with, especially if your home was built before 1978. You may be exposed to extremely harmful lead-based paint hazards. If you're concerned about lead in your home, don't roll the dice on your family's safety. LCAP's Healthy Homes Lead Hazard Reduction Program is here to help you win the battle. Your family's health and safety is the goal. Contact the Department of Healthy Homes today.
Thank you for calling Axe. Where can we take you today?
To work, to the store, to Grandma's house. Axe can get you there, but it's much more than a ride. It's a joyride.
I'm helping people. I'm getting them out of their house. I'm taking them to their doctors, to the grocery store.
They say I'm entertaining. Okay, we laugh, we joke, we sing, we tell stories.
They're like family to us.
even if it's the same day. To schedule your joyride, call Axe today.
Back here Beyond the Scoreboard, bring back Tim Continenza, Eric Thomas. I'm James Dotson, just about 40 minutes away from kickoff between Laurel and Neshannock. We'll have full coverage on that. You can flip over here in a minute. We're going to join here with our Castle Asphalt pregame show at the bottom of the hour. A little simulcast action when that comes down to it. But first, let's talk a little bit about what we got going on in terms of the playoff scenarios coming up. Let's start with the easy one, gentlemen. Class 1A, we know what we got. We got Neshannock, Laurel, Southside. They're all in the Big 7 Conference. If Laurel wins, they're outright champs. They got a home game, no question about it. Southside would be second, probably a home game, almost certainly. Neshannock would be third, probably not. Actually, no, they shouldn't because there's 8 teams. The top 2 from each conference should get a home game. So Neshannock would be on the road with a loss. Shenango with a win they're in fourth right now. They win, they're securely in fourth. Probably get an at-large. If Neshannock beats Laurel, then you got tri-champions and tiebreaker points, and all that will come into play, and who the heck knows what it's going to be at that point. But just overall, your thoughts of Class 1A. Shenango should be in, but just talk about this chaos of Class 1A's Big 7 Conference, what it could be. Go ahead, Tim.
Well, I mean, you just never know exactly what's going to happen on a Friday night. We say that so many times, but it's true. I mean, anytime you're at home, you gotta give some credit to the home team, and Laurel will be at home against Neshannock, and that's going to be big. So we're going to find out a lot about Neshannock. Can they, it's not a far trip, but can they get on the bus and travel and play well? And really, I think more importantly for them, I think they have to play in front. I think it's going to be really important for them to answer any type of score that Laurel has, and if they can get a lead, how can they successfully defend that lead? And we'll see. As for the others, I mean, like you said, Shenango, we know what they have to do to get in, and they should get there. Mm-hmm. And we'll just, I think it's going to be an interesting run, I mean, for these schools at 1A.
I look at it this way. The easiest thing to happen would be Laurel wins and then they win the section outright, so we know that's not going to happen.
Yeah, well.
It can't. It just everything has to be the way.
It has to have a storyline.
Yeah, it has to have a storyline, exactly.
No kidding.
But I do think that this game is a complete 180 from the one a year ago between these two teams. And I do think Laurel probably has a slight edge, not just because they're at home, but, I mean, their defense is just playing so much better.
Yeah.
And I do also believe that, we didn't know what Mohawk was going to be when they played early in the year. We knew what Neshannock was probably going to be at the end of the year, and we knew what Southside was going to be, too. We expect that every year from those guys. They played their best game defensively last week in a game in which it was their toughest opponent. It was their best opponent so far. They had to win that game. And they came out and played one of their best defensive games and just dominated on offense, too. And I know, Lucas Santini didn't have he was under just over 50% passing. Who cares? Like, they didn't need him to be, perfect in that game. I don't think they need him to be perfect against Neshannock on Friday night either. I think they just have to simply do what they've been doing, and that's play defense. Secondary, you mentioned the front seven earlier. The back end of their defense has been great. Both teams have great secondaries. Laurel's off the charts with theirs. And I feel like this game is completely polar opposite of what it was a year ago. Because last year you're watching that game against Southside when Laurel played them. We did that game, and then you're thinking man, maybe they can win this game. Maybe this is going to be a tight game. And now I'm looking at this team going, that's a totally last year.
Completely different.
Doesn't even look like last year's team at all, and it's the same players. So I just think they have a slight edge in this game for a few things. But I do agree with something you said earlier, too, and that's that Neshannock is starting to play its best football. Maybe we get one of those wild, 41-33 or 41-40 type games. Yeah.
We had that one actually in the season opener a couple of years ago. It was a double overtime game. 41-34, I think, was the final of that one. Real quick, Fort Cherry is the 1, Clairton as the 2 in my mind. I think Bishop Canavan sneaks in as the 3 ahead of Laurel and California because Canavan beat Laurel. They
lost to Fort Cherry, too.
Right, no, that's true.
You kind of have to favor them if they...
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So I think that's your top 5 is Fort Cherry 1, Clairton 2, Canavan 3, and then Laurel and California 4 and 5. Again, that's assuming nothing ridiculously crazy happens on Friday night. crazy enough if Neshannock would win. That's certainly could count as a crazy one. Talk about crazy. Class 2A, the MAC is all over the place. So here is the scenarios to the best of our capabilities. Beaver Falls against Elwood City. The winner is in, no questions asked. If Elwood City loses, they actually have a better track to either still get third place at an auto bid or fourth place and a very likely wild card. Beaver Falls could fall all the way to fifth place, and then you're not sure if you're getting in or not. Riverside and Mohawk. For Riverside, it's easy. Win and you're automatically in. Mohawk needs to win, and it's not a guarantee that they're in. There's still a scenario out there where they would not be an automatic bid, but again, probably fourth place and probably would have the qualifying spot at that point. Those are the two main games that make a difference. New Brighton's game obviously is going to come into play. New Brighton playing against Union. You don't want to pencil it in as a win, but unfortunately it's been a rough year for the Scotties. Going to be one of the first winless teams in many years in Lawrence County. And on the other side, Western Beaver has the game against Freedom. Again, should pencil it in as a win, but Western Beaver has struggled the last couple of weeks as well. Main thing is, you win, you're likely in. You can't guarantee it, but you're likely in both scenarios. And I think Mohawk, for sure, is, of all those teams we mentioned, probably the team that's playing the best right now.
Elwood City, though.
Yes, Elwood City, too. Yeah, good point.
Against their rival, in a game in which they were so close a couple years ago when they played them at Geneva and just couldn't come up. That Nick Nardone team was so good that year, that one that came here and beat Neshannock in the playoffs, then went all the way to the WPIL finals. That Elwood City Beaver Falls game to me is intriguing just because nobody under the sun thought that Beaver Falls was going to be in the situation that they're in now where they can get in the playoffs. I didn't.
No chance.
I mean, it looked like they weren't going to win a game at some point during the regular season, and now here they are on the cusp of getting in the playoffs with, like a team that nobody expected. On the other hand, Elwood City, I think we all thought they were going to get in at some point. They'd be a 500 team or close to it, but I think we all thought they would get in.
You figured they'd be in the playoff all this season long.
At least in the hunt. At least in the hunt, exactly.
Now a win, they're hosting another game.
They're hosting one, right. And then from a Mohawk perspective, I really like what they've done. And, we talked, if you remember, early in the year, one of our first shows, about how some of these schedules were front-loaded. And the one that had the easiest path at the end of the year was going to be Mohawk.
Right.
And they've taken advantage of that. Now, I'm not trying to say that they haven't beaten quality competition, because you can only play who's in front of you. Mm-hmm. You have to win all those games, whatever. But they have certainly taken advantage of the situation that they're in to put themselves in the position that they're in on Friday night.
Right.
I think they're going to get in. I really do. And if they do,
they actually have a chance to still host a game, believe it or not, because that's how crazy 2A is.
That is crazy. And if they do get in, the way that they've developed Lucas Stratton running the football, the way Joey Nails come around, and the way Bobby Fadden's been playing the last couple of weeks, he's going to be arguably the best player in the field if he's out there. They're in every definition of the word a wild card.
Yeah.
Every definition of it. Whether it's the seed makes them a wild card, or whether you have no idea if they're going to come out and blow you out or be in a tight game, they are a wild card.
Probably not a team you want to be playing right now, right, Tim?
No. I mean, Mohawk just has momentum going for their side right now, and that's what they need. That's what you want at the end of the year. You want to have that feeling that, you're invincible, that you're going to be ready to play, and that you're going to rise to the occasion. Right now, Mohawk has risen to the occasion in the last few weeks, and this is their opportunity to finish strong and, like I said before, to have a reason to go to school on Monday, to go to practice.
That's all he takes right there. Right now I have South Allegheny as the 1, Seton LaSalle versus Washington. The winner of that is the conference champion. I have them as the number 2, Western Beaver as the 3, and then either Apollo Ridge or that Seton Washington loser probably as that number 4
How about
seed.
Shout out Seton LaSalle for losing all those guys, not getting the quarterback they thought they were going to get.
And still there.
And still the number 1 seed potentially.
Yeah, absolutely incredible what that has turned into over the course of this year. 4A, my word. Again, only 8 teams will make it in Class 4A, and it's very possible that the 2 wildcard teams are named Thomas Jefferson and Aliquippa. Go ahead, take it from there.
Listen,
go ahead, Eric.
This is
You've been talking about this all year.
This is what I find. This is the most absurd situation on the planet, that either both those teams, TJ and Aliquippa, might not get in. I still think Aliquippa, like I said earlier, I believe they're in a little bit better shape than what most people think, but TJ, I believe if one of them gets in over the other, it's going to be Thomas Jefferson. I just kind of have this hunch that some things are Aliquippa is just not. They're not right now, and that school district's had a lot of things going on this year. From Mike Warfield coming back, and everybody's hyped up about it. the bus incident early in the year. I
Yeah.
mean, there's just been a lot going on with that program and trying to get everything under control. And then you factor in injuries, and Marcus Council's out for the year with a knee injury, so their quarterback's not there. Now they've had to reshift that. They really haven't had a true running game. Tyke Hayes gone, obviously. It's just not the same, makeup and not the same mentality that this team has been. And the challenge for Mike Warfield now becomes, how do you put that us against the world thing on their shoulder? And Aliquippa just, to me, has never, and listen, I've only been out here a couple of years, but when I've seen him in state finals and when I've seen him in playoffs and things before, I've never really felt like they feel like it's them against the world. They feel like they're just better than everybody else because they've been.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the case. Now it's, hey, everybody's against us. Everything is against us. Can they channel all that and then put that into a performance on Friday night and get in the playoffs? There's a scenario that exists if Newcastle wins and hosts again that they might play TJ in the first round.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
And there's another situation that exists that they may play Mars. Mars has been pretty good this year too, so it's not going to be easy. We know that all 8 of these teams that are going to get in can win this tournament. I don't know what happens. I'm pretty confident in Newcastle taking care of business. I don't know what the hell is going to happen between TJ and Aliquippa.
And there's nothing that says that they can't have rematches. So you could technically have Newcastle Aliquippa as a potential rematch in the first round. So here's the general scenario. McKeesport, they've clinched. They're going to be the number 1 team out of their conference. I think that they're probably going to be the number 1 overall. Trinity, with a win, and they should win on Friday, they're going to be the champion out of their conference. The issue is in the Parkway because you're going to have co-champions one way or the other, assuming things go chalk with Newcastle beating Blackhawk. If Newcastle beats Blackhawk, they've got to share the title. If West Allegheny wins against Montour, then West Allegheny has the upper hand because they beat Newcastle. I don't think it does either the way Montour is playing. And Newcastle should be rooting for Montour because then Newcastle would have the top seed. As you said, though, that might lead to them playing TJ or Aliquippa in the first round, but that's neither here nor there. So, in theory, Newcastle is tied for the conference championship against either West A or Montour. So they're going to either be ahead of Montour or behind West A in terms of the traditional what the seeding should be. The question then is, what happens? Does Parkway get a 3rd team for a wild card? They definitely get 1. Could they possibly get 2 is, I think, what's going to be a lot of people's plates, because if it's between a tie between Montour and Aliquippa, so if West A wins, head-to-head, you got to go Montour first.
Montour.
And then
they went there and won that game last Friday.
Right. So you have to take Montour first. I mean, this is incredible that you could technically get 4 teams from the Parkway in the playoffs.
Here's where, and this is the gentleman on either side of me, this is not their thought. This is my thought. This is why human interest should not factor in who picks these teams. Because you cannot tell me that there won't be people that, if they pick these wild cards, are going to look at the 2 teams, Thomas Jefferson and Aliquippa, that have been the standard bearers of WPIL football for the last decade, and say neither one of them are going. Who's going to have the fortitude to say that neither one of those teams are going?
Yeah.
None of them, I don't think. It's going to be name recognition. And I'm not saying that either team doesn't deserve it. I'm just saying that the way that they're getting picked based on other things is not, and that's the human element should not be involved in this at all. There should be nobody, none of these guys, and you know who y'all are. None of you sit out there and watch every one of these teams every week. You're not going to sit down and watch every one of these teams on Friday. You're not going to sit down and watch every one of these teams Saturday morning when you pick these guys. And you know I'm right about that, so don't tell me I'm not. Human element should have nothing to do with this. Nothing to do with that. And that is my 2 cents, not anybody's 2 cents. Doesn't represent anybody else's thoughts. But if you tell me that you've watched all these teams, you're full of it.
It's like Alabama in the college playoffs a year ago, that if you were going to put Alabama in, it was because of name recognition. They got it right last year with the committee. We'll see what happens. I think one of them will make it in, and I think deservedly so, but depending on how it goes, I don't know if both do make it. That's crazy.
I favor neither one of them. I don't think both make it. I think only one will.
I'll ask you in a minute who are the ones in front of them. Go ahead, Tim.
You have to take the human element. You do. 100%. I've always been a big believer in that, and a point system does that, and it rewards teams for winning and playing a good schedule, and I think that's the most important thing. And sometimes a historic school who does so well in football or baseball or basketball, whatever it may be that you're using that type of system, has a year that they doesn't succeed to the level of expectation, and you're going to have to make difficult choices. When you put the human element into it, you get into that element where you basically ask, how can we not have them in? And you can't have that conversation. You have to have the conversation is this team earned their opportunity to be in this tournament. And when you have such a limited tournament of 8 teams, somebody's going home unhappy. It's just the way it works.
So Chartiers Valley, I'm assuming, is one of your wild cards. Then is the other one the winner of the Hampton West Mifflin game? Then
probably. I would think so. I don't.
I guess unless you have Montour, West Day, and Newcastle all being in, I guess you could have that scenario too.
And at that point, if you want to go like human element and look at like numbers and say, okay, well, Parkway was the tougher of the conferences, we can make that argument because then you're lumping all of them in as a whole. You're not looking at like one name recognition
absolutely,
and like saying like this team deserves it. You're saying as a whole this was good. Look, bottom line on this one, I don't think West Day is going to beat Montour. That Montour team, and I watched most of that. Again, that was a completely different Montour team than the one Tim and I saw a couple weeks prior to that. Brandon Bennett played his tail off in that game, and Caden Halajko was running wild at the end of that and the whole night. And they went right through Aliquippa. You can't tell me that team doesn't deserve a spot if they beat West Day for sure. They're a lock to get in, I think. But if you want to say like the whole conference is better than like X, Y, or Z other conference, I'm okay with that.
That's fair. Yeah, I can live with that.
Again, you're giving everybody the fair share and saying like, as a collective unit, this was the toughest of the bunch.
Which is
that's why we're rewarding them. I can buy that argument.
Which is why I also think the MAC gets 2 wild cards versus one elsewhere, and I think it's possible that you get a second wild card out of the Cornell Conference in 1A.
Char Valley, I think, is in there. I probably. Man, I don't know. I don't know between TJ and Aliquippa, only because if it comes down to it, probably TJ. And I know I just said like if you're going to say like the Parkway was the toughest of the conferences, that seems to favor Aliquippa. But body of work. I mean, Aliquippa didn't win on the road at Newcastle. They did not beat Montour at home. They struggled with Penn Hills and had to get down to the wire to beat them. And I'm not sure, is Penn Hills even in the 5A discussion right now?
No, they are not.
Yeah, they're not in.
No.
So that ended up not even being a team, that is a factor. If they were like 7-2 or something or whatever, I'd say, okay, fine. But I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, I think people are going to look at Thomas Jefferson's body work and say, okay, their best loss is to Trinity.
Yeah.
And Trinity's one of our top seeds.
But here's the thing, though, too. Thomas Jefferson, if everything goes chalk tomorrow or Friday, they're the 2 seed. They're in regardless. So keep that in mind, too, that it might not come down to wild card. If they win their game on Friday, they would be the number 2 seed out of that conference, and they would be in.
The easiest thing to do would be for them to win that.
Yeah.
So it's a non-discussion. But as we said about 15 minutes ago,
right.
that probably isn't going to happen because you can't have the easy thing happen.
It's the final week. Everything goes out the window.
So let's talk about the games here real quick, and then we'll switch it over. You can switch over your stream to the stream for the championship game here between Junior High Neshannock and Laurel. We'll talk about Laurel hosting Neshannock on Friday night in the Big 7. The other games in the Big 7, Shenango at Summit Academy on Saturday. Likely, we believe, a win and in for Shenango. We'll have coverage of that one at 12:30 in the afternoon for that contest. In the MAC, Riverside hosting Mohawk again, New Brighton hosting Union, and Beaver Falls at Reeves Field hosting Elwood City. Wilmington non-region game, that is they host Karn City. That is a game on 96.7. You can check it out with our friends at Mercer County Radio. And Blackhawk hosting Newcastle in the Parkway to end the year for the Canes. Let's talk about real quick the Mohawk versus Riverside game and what are the biggest keys. That's a Riverside team that has struggled down the stretch, but they got a big win last week to put them in this position, Eric.
They did, and Mohawk's playing some of its best football right now, so you got maybe a slight edge to them.
Mm-hmm.
Riverside had problems in the 2 games that we saw them. Look, they had problems stopping Union.
Yeah.
And Union's offense has struggled all season long, so I question just how good they've gotten towards the end of the year. You're getting a team that its key players are playing some of the best football that they have all year. That, to me, smells advantage Mohawk. I think they win and put themselves in prime position to get a playoff spot.
Tim?
Mohawk's is on a roll right now, and Riverside's inconsistent. You just don't know which week you're going to get from them.
Mm-hmm.
And Mohawk is playing, like Eric mentioned, some of their best football of the season.
Right.
Not that they didn't play good football early. They lost some close games. But they were on the loser side. And now the last 4 weeks they've changed it. And that's really, you got to think this is Mohawk's opportunity
And also want to mention with Riverside, coaching turmoil, of course, there as well, not helping matters at all for the Panthers, but they can overcome that with a win. They're in the playoffs. Shenango, again, we said they win, they're in, but let's talk real quick a couple keys for Friday night between Laurel and Neshannock. Go ahead, Tim.
Laurel, when you look at them, it's the front seven. On defense, it's their front line. If they control the line of scrimmage, then they're in business today. I mean, that's going to be the most difficult thing for Neshannock. Go on the road and contend with that, winning the line of scrimmage. If they can win the line of scrimmage, especially defensively, they can get in the backfield and cause some havoc. And even if they're just chipping them, and then your linebackers are falling down and getting the plays, making the plays that they need to be made, or your defensive backs is stepping in front of a pass that may be a little late or overthrown, let's just say, because it can happen at the high school level.
Yeah.
They have to take advantage of those opportunities. We'll see. I mean, I am just so thoroughly impressed with how the Spartans have played of late. What they did last week, just dominating the line of scrimmage.
It's an eye-opener.
Defensively, they've only given up 9 points a game coming into last week, and they only gave up 7. I mean, it just shows you how well they're playing.
Against a team that had 445 yards
of
offense the week before.
Exactly.
I look at it like this. I think that the two things that Neshannock's been good at, the sack numbers aren't there, but we talked about this last year. I went back and watched the game from a year ago, and at some point we made a point in the first half about how Neshannock was so good last year at getting pressure on the quarterback and disrupting the timing, but they didn't necessarily get home, and that wasn't a bad thing because as they're disrupting the opposing quarterbacks, the secondary's picking everybody off right and left. It's actually kind of the same thing this year too. Like the sack numbers aren't off the charts, but they're still getting pressure on quarterbacks. They're still forcing turnovers. This to me reeks of a low-scoring game.
Yeah.
We've seen blowouts. I think 10 of the last 15, the winning team has scored 25 or more points. There have only been 4 of those games that have been a touchdown or less in terms of margin. And I think this is game number 5 that's a touchdown or less margin.
Wow.
Obviously, we won't pick a winner, but this smells like Laurel's moment, and it smells like Neshannock not wanting to give up a title that's been theirs for 365 days. And I think it's going to be, even if it's only for 2 or 3 quarters, I think it's going to be a bit of a tractor pull, and then somebody will pull away late.
Well, Laurel's hoping that the tractor pull goes in their advantage for sure out there in Spartan country. These guys will have the call for that one on Friday night. They'll be on the call here in about 15 minutes to kick off. So what we're going to do, we're wrapping up the podcast. Make sure you tune in, switch on over to the Junior High Championship game, Tri-County Championship between Laurel and Neshannock, just 15 minutes from now. For Tim Continenza, Eric Thomas, I'm James Dotson. So long, and stay tuned. Thanks for tuning in on the Beyond the Scoreboard podcast here